Welcome back, Bulldogs fans. Today, we're going to be recapping the Martinsburg versus Huntington game. I'm also going to have the H.D. Woodson game preview up at some point today as well. So let's jump right into it. All of the eyes in the state of West Virginia were on Huntington Friday night as the state semifinal rematch and number 1 versus number 2 matchup began. And it wasted no time getting crazy as the opening kickoff saw Andreas Reese take it 80 yards to the Martinsburg 16. After getting inside the 5, a penalty and a botched play for Huntington would set up 3rd and goal from the 15, and the Clemson commit Tavion Wilson would find Reese in the end zone for the first score of the game, putting the Highlanders up 7-0. Martinsburg's first drive was more of what we saw in that Camden game. Miscommunication and mistakes. 3 penalties would put the Dogs at 1st and 25 before they snapped the ball once. Despite the long change, Boston Todd would help Martinsburg pick up a first down, but a penalty derailed the drive, and Martinsburg would be forced to punt after facing 3rd and 20. The Bulldogs' defense would stand strong and force a 3 and out, which would set up this incredible punt return for a touchdown by Boston Todd, and the Bulldogs would tie this game at 7-7. After forcing a 3 and out, the Bulldogs would take over from their own 13 after a penalty on the punt return pushed them back, and disaster strikes as the snap gets away from Brian Dick, rolls into the end zone, and he knocks it out of bounds for a safety. Up 9-7, the safety punt gives the Highlanders good starting field position, and they capitalize as Trayvon Okonkwo runs it in, putting the Highlanders up 16-7. The very next Bulldogs drive started how the previous two had started. Penalties. The drive would also stall much like the last drive as a botched snap sets up 4th down from the 5-yard line, giving Huntington good field position again. After a questionable late hit penalty on 3rd down gives them a big first, Huntington would find themselves in the end zone again as Okonkwo would score his 2nd touchdown of the half, putting Huntington up 22-7. Lightning would strike, delaying us about an hour and a half. We would resume with still 4 minutes left in the first half, and Huntington kicking off to Martinsburg. Brian Dick would have the offense driving straight out of the delay as they find Todd on the perimeter for a nice play, followed by the young Kevin Myers breaking off a nice run for himself. This would set up a 25-yard touchdown run from Brian Dick to make this a 22-14 ball game, and that's the first offensive touchdown for the Martinsburg Bulldogs this season. The next Highlanders possession would see them driving before half after a nice pass from Wilson to the junior messenger, but the kid who I think's the best defensive player in the state, Ty Ricketts, makes an enormous play off the edge, forcing a fumble in the Clemson commit Wilson to stop the Highlanders' chance at getting any points before half. The second half starts with the Bulldogs getting the ball, and some more Boston Todd action gets them into Huntington territory. A nice run after from Brian Dick keeps the Dogs driving, but right on cue, a formation penalty makes 3rd and 3, 3rd and 8, and Dick is unable to find Boston Todd, setting up 4th and 8. Martinsburg does go for it, but the sophomore Myers drops the wheel route down the sideline, giving the Highlanders the ball deep in their own territory. The Bulldogs would force another quick 3 and out, which led to Todd taking the punt inside the 30 of Huntington. However, a block in the back would negate the return, pushing the Bulldogs back to their own 43. Huntington's defense would stand strong this time, forcing a 3 and out for themselves, and Brian Dick would kick a great punt, pinning Huntington at their own 6 to start the drive. A few nice plays from the Highlanders create some space away from their own end zone, and then we see what makes the 3-star Clemson commit Wilson special as he takes a designed run and hurdles a defender, picking up a first down. After Newsom and Okonkwo continue to chip away at the Martinsburg defense, a great open field tackle by Kobe Walker on Wilson forces a 3rd down. Being chased by Urias on 4th down, Wilson was unable to find his man, giving the Bulldogs the ball back in the 4th, down 8 points. Brian Dick was able to pick up a few first downs with his legs, and then he's find his main target, Boston Todd, on a screen play to take Martinsburg across midfield once again. After some good running between Myers and Dick, the Bulldogs would take a shot on 1st down, but some miscommunication leads to an incomplete pass that probably could have been a touchdown. After drawing the Highlanders offsides to make 3rd and 10, 3rd and 5, Brian Dick was able to find his way forward somehow for a first down for the Bulldogs, and a few plays later, Dick was able to punch it in from 10 yards away to make this a 22-20 ball game. The Bulldogs would go for it on two to tie the game, and a really great play call gets the sophomore Villa open in the corner of the end zone, but he cannot bring it in. It stays 22-20. Huntington was able to dwindle down most of the clock, picking up a few first downs. They would face a 4th and 2 at their own 44, and they get Martinsburg to jump off sides as they commit their 12th penalty of the game with only one timeout left. Wilson would try and run most of the clock he can, but he would leave Martinsburg receiving a punt with 12 seconds left. The snap to Wilson, and it's blocked with 7 seconds left in the game, giving Brian Dick a 45-yard field to throw a Hail Mary, and it's tipped around and falls to the ground. Huntington gets their revenge, 22-20. Martinsburg falls to 0-2 for the first time since 2015. And honestly, I mean, how fitting was it that this game comes down to a 2-point conversion failed in the fourth quarter? For players of the game on offense, I'm going to go Brian Dick. He had 130 yards rushing with 2 touchdowns. Even though he struggled passing, he still looked a lot more comfortable in this game. And I think at the very least, he's going to be able to run the ball really well this year. On defense, it was tough between Frankie Urias and Ty Ricketts for me, but Ricketts caused a big fumble to prevent more points and keep Martinsburg in striking distance. So for back-to-back weeks, Ty Ricketts my defensive player of the week. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, leave a like below and comment if you think Martinsburg is going to turn it around and end up playing for a state championship later this year. As always, stay blessed. Go Bulldogs.